Assalamu alaikum.
Have you ever wondered why some prophets, who are widely recognized in Islamic and historical traditions, are not mentioned in the Quran? We know about Adam, Noah, Moses, and Isa, peace be upon them, but what about others like Daniel, Jeremiah, and Shem? Were they not important? Or is there a deeper wisdom behind their omission? Stay with me as we uncover this mystery. The Quran explicitly names 25 prophets, each chosen by Allah to guide their respective nations, and their stories serve as eternal lessons for all of humanity. However, the Quran also makes it clear that there were many more prophets whose names and stories remain unknown to us, as stated in Surah Ghafir, and we have certainly sent messengers before you. Among them are those whose stories we have related to you, and among them are those whose stories we have not related to you. This verse raises an important question. Why did Allah choose to mention only a select few prophets while leaving others unnamed? The divine wisdom behind this selective mention lies in several key factors. Firstly, the prophets highlighted in the Quran faced universal challenges that resonate with humanity across all eras, particularly with the followers of the final prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him. Their struggles with faith, patience, justice, and morality mirror the trials that Muslims would encounter throughout history, ensuring that their examples remain relevant for spiritual and moral guidance. Secondly, the Quran is not a historical record, but rather a book of divine guidance, meaning that only the most impactful stories were preserved to provide concise yet profound lessons that would stand the test of time. If every prophet's story were included, the Quran would be far too extensive for human comprehension, making it difficult to absorb and apply its teachings. Thirdly, the hidden prophets were sent to different nations across time and geography, fulfilling Allah's promise that no people were left without guidance, Surah Fatir. While their roles were significant for their own communities, their specific experiences were not necessarily required for the broader spiritual development of humanity. The fact that so many prophets remain unnamed also serves as a reminder of Allah's infinite wisdom. It is not necessary for us to know every detail, but rather to trust in the completeness of the guidance that has been revealed. Instead of speculating about those who were not mentioned, we should deeply reflect on the profound lessons that can be extracted from those who were, for their stories were chosen by Allah to shape the faith, character, and resilience of all believers until the end of time. Thus, the mention of certain prophets in the Quran is not arbitrary but part of a divine plan that ensures the most essential guidance is preserved for all of humanity, reminding us that true faith lies not in knowing everything, but in trusting that Allah has given us exactly what we need to succeed in this life and the next. The Quran, as a divine revelation, serves as a book of guidance rather than a complete historical record. While it explicitly names 25 prophets, Islamic traditions and Hadith literature reference several others whose names do not appear in the Quran. Among them is Prophet Daniel, known as Daniel, renowned for his wisdom and prophetic insights during the Babylonian exile. His life was marked by unwavering faith in the face of adversity, much like the trials faced by other prophets mentioned in the Quran. Similarly, Prophet Jeremiah, known as Irmiah, was sent to warn the Israelites of impending doom due to their transgressions, calling them back to the worship of Allah. His story echoes the struggles of prophets like Hazrat Nuh and Hazrat Lut, who also warned their people yet faced rejection. Another significant yet unnamed figure is Prophet Shem, known as Sam, the son of Hazrat Nuh, who is believed to have continued his father's legacy in spreading monotheism. Prophet Ezekiel, is also referenced in Islamic tradition, known for reviving a dead nation by the command of Allah, a miraculous event that mirrors the story of the sleepers of the cave in Surah Al-Kahf. Despite their historical and religious significance, these prophets are not mentioned in the Quran by name. The answer lies in the Quran's purpose. It is not meant to be an exhaustive record of every prophet who walked the earth. Rather, it is a book of divine guidance that selects stories based on their moral, spiritual, and societal impact. The prophets mentioned in the Quran were chosen because their struggles, victories, and messages provide the most relevant lessons for humanity, resonating across all generations. Their stories align with the challenges believers have faced throughout history, from standing firm in faith against oppression to calling people toward justice and righteousness. By focusing on these selected prophets, the Quran ensures that its lessons remain universally applicable, emphasizing the core themes of faith, perseverance, repentance, and reliance on Allah. The omission of certain prophets from the Quran is not an oversight but a deliberate part of Allah's divine wisdom. One of the primary reasons for this is the relevance of their stories to the final message of Islam. The Quran was not revealed as a historical record but as a universal guide for humanity. The 25 prophets mentioned by name were chosen because their lives, struggles, and messages align directly with the teachings of Islam and offer timeless lessons for all generations. These prophets faced trials that resonate with the challenges of faith, morality, and perseverance, providing believers with clear examples to follow. Other prophets, while significant in their own times, may not have had stories that contributed directly to the overarching message of the Quran. Their omission ensures that the Quran remains concise, practical, and focused on guidance rather than being an exhaustive historical document. Another possible reason is to prevent an overemphasis on lineage. Many of the prophets not mentioned by name were from the children of Israel, Bani Israel. Had their names been highlighted, some groups might have misinterpreted this as a sign of superiority based on ancestry rather than faith and righteousness. Islam firmly establishes that nobility in the sight of Allah is not determined by lineage but by taqwa, piety, and consciousness of God. The Quran consistently reminds us that it is a person's actions and devotion that matter, not their ancestry. By selectively naming prophets, Allah reinforces the idea that guidance is meant for all people, regardless of their ethnic or tribal background. This helps maintain the universal nature of Islam, ensuring that no group claims exclusivity over divine guidance. Additionally, avoiding unnecessary details about certain prophets serves as a safeguard against idolization. Throughout history, many religious communities have exaggerated the status of their prophets, sometimes to the extent of turning them into objects of worship. The Quran strictly warns against this practice and emphasizes the oneness of Allah above all else. By mentioning only those prophets whose stories are necessary for guidance, the Quran ensures that believers remain focused on the core message of Tawheed, monotheism, rather than getting lost in historical figures. This prevents the mistakes of previous nations, who at times elevated their prophets beyond their intended role as mere messengers of God. Islam, in contrast, maintains a clear distinction between the Creator and His creations, ensuring that worship is directed to Allah alone. Furthermore, the decision to omit certain prophets highlights the concept of divine wisdom and trust in Allah's knowledge. The Quran itself acknowledges that there were many more messengers sent throughout history whose stories were not related to us. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, chose to reveal only what is necessary for our spiritual growth and moral development. Everything in the Quran has a purpose, and its teachings are complete and sufficient for guidance. Whether a prophet is named or unnamed does not diminish their role in spreading Allah's message. What truly matters is the essence of their mission, calling people to monotheism, righteousness, and submission to the will of Allah. Ultimately, the omission of certain prophets serves multiple divine purposes. It ensures that the Quran remains a guidebook rather than a historical text, prevents undue focus on lineage, safeguards against idolization, and reinforces our trust in Allah's wisdom. The Quran's approach teaches us that faith is not about knowing every detail of the past but about applying its teachings to our present and future. Whether named or unnamed, all prophets played a crucial role in guiding humanity, and their collective wisdom continues to illuminate the path of righteousness for those who seek it. The omission of certain prophets from the Quran teaches us valuable lessons about faith, wisdom, and the true purpose of divine guidance. First and foremost, it reinforces the importance of trusting in Allah's wisdom. Everything in the Quran is there for a reason, and what is left out is just as intentional as what is included. Allah has given us exactly what we need to navigate our spiritual journey, and anything beyond that is not essential for our salvation. This reminds us that Islam is a religion of guidance, not just information. Our role as believers is to reflect on the teachings provided and apply them in our lives, rather than seeking unnecessary details that do not contribute to our faith. Secondly, The Quran's approach teaches us to focus on the message rather than names and historical details. Islam is a religion that prioritizes principles over personalities. The named prophets are mentioned not for the sake of storytelling, but because their struggles, sacrifices, and teachings align with the core message of the Quran. This reminds us that righteousness is not tied to lineage or specific figures, but to faith, actions, and obedience to Allah. Instead of fixating on who was or wasn't mentioned, we should direct our attention to the values they upheld: Tawheed, monotheism, patience, justice, and submission to Allah's will. By doing so, we align ourselves with the essence of prophethood rather than getting lost in historical debates. Lastly, while the Quran may not explicitly mention certain prophets, Islamic history and hadith literature provide valuable insights into their lives. Figures like Daniel, Daniel, Jeremiah, Irmiah, Shem, Sam, and Hizkil, Ezekiel, are referenced in various Islamic traditions, and their stories contain wisdom that can enhance our understanding of past nations and divine justice. Studying these sources allows us to expand our knowledge while still maintaining the Quranic principle of focusing on guidance over mere historical curiosity. These prophets, whether named in the Quran or not, played crucial roles in calling people to Allah, and their struggles carry lessons that remain relevant today. Ultimately, the Quran's selective mention of prophets is a profound reminder that faith is not about accumulating names and details, but about extracting guidance that transforms our lives. It teaches us to trust Allah's plan, prioritize spiritual lessons over historical facts, and seek wisdom from all available sources without losing sight of the Quran's core message. By internalizing these lessons, we can strengthen our connection with Allah and navigate life with a clearer sense of purpose. The Quran is far more than just a historical record. It is a divine guide meant to shape our lives, our faith, and our understanding of the world. Every prophet mentioned carries a vital lesson, and every omission serves a purpose in Allah's perfect wisdom. While we may be curious about the lives of unnamed prophets, our focus should always remain on the guidance Allah has given us. Instead of getting caught up in historical details, we should strive to extract the timeless lessons of faith, patience, and submission to Allah's will. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think we should explore more hidden figures in Islamic history? Are there any lesser-known prophets or historical figures you'd like to learn more about? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking Islamic content. Your engagement helps us spread knowledge and strengthen our community. May Allah bless you with wisdom and understanding. See you in another video.
Allah Hafiz.